The Sweet Sound of Success show is brought to you by the Mentor Studio. The Mentor Studio is an exclusive mentoring and training program for social influencers, business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, and startups, bringing personal development to the underserved around the world. And brought to you by Success Strategists. Simple strategies that work to develop your business with flow and ease using proven strategies and the right tactics. This is the Sweet Sound of Success with Sue Wilhite, Success Attraction Expert. Consuela Munoz is a speaker and leadership strengths coach. She is the author of H.E.R. story, The Day She Stopped. Leaders hire her to master the power of leadership because most dismiss their natural leadership style. They lack confidence and they end up losing their top performers. She helps them discover their leadership strengths, build their confidence, and attract the best. You will be the confident leader that everyone would love to work with. And welcome, Consuela.
Oh, thank you so much, Sue. I'm really excited to be with you today.
Oh, I'm definitely excited. I love this. So, for those of you who have not watched my show before and don't know what the hero's journey is all about, never heard of it, there was this wonderful guy named Dr. Joseph Campbell, who got what I think is the best job in the world, where he got to go out and study the stories that other people told. He basically studied myths, and he studied them all over the world. And through his studies, he pinpointed about 16 elements of all of these myths that had to do with heroic actions and heroes going out into the world. And it's this wonderful cycle. And if you read any stories, you'll see the points. Now, not all the stories have all the points, but the entrepreneur's journey, the hero's journey, has 5 points. And those are the ordinary beginning, because you got to start somewhere, right? And I don't think any entrepreneur is actually ordinary, nor do they ever have an ordinary beginning. Then there's the call to action. You're going along and suddenly the world changes. What happened? There are the big hairy monsters, which are sometimes involved with that wonderful call to action. And sometimes they come up afterwards and you get to dance with them. And what are they and what did you do? Then there's the help. Ask for help. It's allies, mentors, guides, coaches, the folks who help you along the way as you're dealing with the big hairy monsters, or what do you do when the call to action happens? And then there's those other folks that Joseph Campbell labels with the term the journey home. Because once you have done this and you've been an entrepreneur and you've done your thing, you're different. And not everybody has changed at the same rate that you have. You're an entrepreneur, other people may not be. And they may not understand what you're doing, what you're going through, how you're doing it. And they might have some questions for you, like, when are you going to get a real job? This is my favorite unanswerable question. And so how do you deal with those folks? They're not necessarily big hairy monsters, but they can be a little bit of a drag. So what do you do? So, Consuela, what was your ordinary beginning?
Well, my ordinary beginning is really kind of what I've summed up in the day she stopped. And so for me, that is really around literally one day I was walking into work, kind of have a long hallway to my office, and I just kind of came to a stop as I had this epiphany, this thought that my entire life I had been just average. I was smart, but not a genius. I was cute, but not gorgeous. And even the average height. Well, maybe a little shorter than average, but still, everything about me was just average. Have you ever felt like that? Like, I'm just average.
Right.
And for me, in that moment, I continued on to my desk and I kind of like put my bag down. I was like, you know what? I am meant for more. But even more than that, I meant for more because I want to do something that I know that matters. And I want to have an impact, not just on my team, but on my organization, my community, and even more than that, even beyond that. I want to have an impact. And that was really for me that ordinary moment where I'm like, whoa, I know I'm meant to have an impact. And what am I going to do about that?
Right. Right. So it was, what, oh, I forget who it was. They call it the lightning struck heart, where it's like this bolt of lightning that comes down and you just, and a term comes to mind. I don't remember which tribe it is, but there's a Native American word. It's called sva, or svaha. It's again that lightning bolt that comes in and goes, whoa, what am I doing?
Yeah, I mean, it really was like, it's almost like kind of time slowed down for me.
Yeah.
I was like, how can everybody just keep moving? How are they just going about their day? Don't they realize that I just had this huge thought and
Right.
it's going to change my entire life?
Right.
But they just kept going on, right?
Right. You think you're glowing and just, "Ah," you don't hear the heavenly chorus.
Exactly.
Right. And here you were just doing your thing and bam, it happens. Right. So what were some of what I call the big hairy monsters? Joseph Campbell calls them dragons, but I like dragons, so I call them big hairy monsters, that you dealt with. I mean, once you've had this kind of mind-opening event, what did you get to deal with in order to make those changes and kind of get people's attention?
Well, for me, it was like, okay, what am I going to do about this? And I had taken Strength Finders, and full disclaimer, I am now 100% strengths nerd. So you're going to hear about strengths, right? But I had taken Strength Finder a little while before that epiphany. I almost feel like it might have been part of the reason I had it. But when I took the Strength Finder and I got that report back, I mean, as you get experience, you kind of know what you're good at and what you're not good at, right? But getting that report back and seeing in black and white words on a page that come from somebody else, how amazing I was. It really gave me that glimpse of the greatness that I had within me. And so I felt like after I had this epiphany, like there is some stuff in me I should be doing more with. And so I'm like, what am I going to do next? And how am I going to use my strengths? So I really sat with myself for a bit and said, okay, what am I going to do about this? And here's my strengths. Here's what I'm passionate about. Here's what I enjoy doing. And what does that mean I should do next? And of course, at the beginning, I had a lot more questions than answers, right? And so I started just, I was kind of somewhat structured, but I was like Googling this and that. And then I just kind of went with the flow and I had this huge vision. And for me, I call it my bursting moment because it was like, when you tilt a glass just right and everything becomes in focus,
right?
And all these balloons and all the colors started bursting out. And it became clear what I needed to do. And I was like writing like a maniac, like page after page, what this vision was. And with that vision, I knew that I was going to be a strength coach and that I was going to work with teams and leaders so that every person that I worked with could be excited to go to work, whether that was in the job they were in or whether it meant going to a new job or even becoming an entrepreneur, but they should be excited to be going to work. And so that is where I started. But as far as like hairy monsters, I had this ginormous vision and I was here. So I knew it was going to be little steps to get there. And so I started working with a volunteer group at work, the women's group. And when I was there, I was able to develop my first strength program. And man, the results from that, it only confirmed to me like, yes, this is the right path. Of course, there's a lot more monsters along the way, but that was my path. And I knew like, yes, this is the clear path. Even though there's a lot of foliage hanging in the way, I know this is the path I need to take. It may take me a minute to get there, but this is what I need to be doing. This is my more. This is how I will have impact.
Yeah, this is how you're going to show up, right?
Yep.
And make the difference. And one of the things, oh, now his name has slipped my mind. The gentleman, Russell
Brand?
Yeah, Russell Branson.
Branson, yep.
ClickFunnels. I saw him give a talk once, and he said, I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not a coach. I'm not any of these things. But I'm helping those people do the things that they love to do so that they can go out and the neurosurgeon can help the folks with brain problems and the veterinarian can help heal the animals and the coach can help people. So he says, I feel like it's this ripple effect out into the world that here I'm providing, I'm just a software guy, but I'm providing all of this to all of these people. So it's like you're opening up the doors for all of these people and allowing them to go out into the world and be their own shining, brilliant person, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Ripple effect out into the world. What a glorious thing to do. What a great job.
Right?
So
I love it.
I can tell. So who were some of the allies and mentors that you had along the way?
So one of the things I think sometimes people shy away a little bit from having a coach, which to me is somewhat crazy because for me, it was, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm developing this. So I was working with a strength coach. And then when I got to the next step and I was like, okay, I'm going to leave my company. I'm going to start my own company. Okay, what kind of coaches do I need to support me for that? So it's natural for me to want to turn to a coach. I also feel like the Strength Finder assessment itself, the results, the words that are in that is definitely a thing that I lean on. It's not a person,
Right.
But those words are so important because they help me remember how amazing I am. But for me, it's like, what coach do I need when I need them? And I was, cracking up with somebody the other day. You wouldn't expect, I'm in Wisconsin, right? Go Packers. And you wouldn't expect to watch a game with no coaches on the side, right? Right? You wouldn't expect that. And so if you want to be at the top level, you're going to have a coach. And so I think, as an athlete, we accept it. But for anywhere else, we kind of like, oh. So I think that is what we need to be, turning to. For me, it's like a natural. Let me get a coach. Right now, I'm working with several of them, right? And so it's, whatever I need help with, I'm going to raise my hand and find a coach to help me do it because I have activator as number 5, one of my strengths. And so once I've got a plan, I got to move, and trying to figure it out on my own is going to slow me down and I need to move faster. So I'm going to work with whatever coach I need to get me to the next step in my journey.
Exactly. I think that's a brilliant summation of why you need a coach. It's like, just make it faster, make it happen faster.
Exactly.
So what kind of resistance did you run up against and how did you deal with it?
What kind of resistance? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What kind of resistance did you run into in getting your glorious vision out into the world, and how did you deal with it?
Well, so there is some resistance. I have a husband and kids, and so there's a little bit of, oh my, that's a scary kind of thing. It's a scary thing to do, but I kind of naturally step outside the box, and so for me, it was, how do I convince them that this is going to be okay? And so it was working with them to consider in, the possibilities and what it could be, and to really understand why it was so important to me that I get past this resistance. As far as other resistance, I don't really think there's been a lot. There's been, some saboteurs in my head. And again, I turn to coaching for that. If I start, hearing, when the pandemic came through, I really started hearing some loud negative voices in my head. I don't know if anybody else did, but I know I did. And, we can let them run on that loop. And the problem with that is they'll get louder and louder and louder until you can't hear any of the good stuff anymore.
Right.
And so when it gets to that point, you need help. And again, I just reached out to some coaches I knew, said, you know what, I'm really struggling with this. And sometimes it's easy to help someone else and hard to help yourself,
Yes.
to remember and realize how amazing you are. And
Yes.
so I'm reaching out to those coaches. I haven't admitted this before, but I do set on my calendar to read my strength report once a month, because it really just reminds me, oh yeah, I'm the stuff. I'm amazing. And let me look at that and remember why I'm doing what I'm doing when things get tough. Because as an entrepreneur, your life can be like that roller coaster. And we want to make sure we can shorten the wave so we're not spending too much time in that valley and we're having a lot more peaks.
Exactly. So, bonus question. I didn't prep this at all. So if somebody showed up on your doorstep and said, Consuela, I want to work with you, and you went, oh my God, that's what you want to do? That's who you are? This is what I get to play with? Who would that be? What would they look like?
What would they look like? I thought you were going to ask me what I was doing. I was all ready to tell you I'm going to give them some fresh baked cookies. But so who would I work with? So I work with leaders and their teams. Right. So anybody who wants to be that leader, that cares enough to make sure that they are leading from their strengths, so that they're actually leading and not just managing their team. So they are concerned about developing each person on their team to also be a leader. Because when you're at that level, that's when you become that leader that's confident, that leader that is authentic, that people really are attracted to working with. And the process I have for doing that is the CEO way. And so with the CEO way, we're going to celebrate your gifts. We're going to engage your strengths until you own your confidence. Because anybody could take an assessment, right? You could take the assessment. Oh, that's nice. And taking the assessment will give you a really good boost of your self-confidence. But then if you just put it on the shelf, you're going to revert back to your old ways, right? So how are we going to engage your strengths? How are we going to learn to apply them and really use those strengths with purpose? Because as most of us know, any strength taken too far can be a weakness.
Right.
And so we have to be in control and use our strengths with purpose so that our strengths are not controlling us. And the great thing about that is when you're able to do more of the things that you do best, what percentage of your day are you doing best? How can you improve that? To what percentage of your week are you doing that is the best thing for you? Then there's less room for those doubts, those saboteurs that I was having, because you're fully in what you do best and you know what you're capable. And I would add one thing for entrepreneurs: we are constantly bombarded, right? Hey, you should try this and you should do it this way and you should do it this way, until we're like, oh my goodness. I mean, literally one week I had a training that told me to do it this way, and the next day I had a training to do it the exact opposite. And I'm like, well, now what? But that's the thing with the strengths. I tell you, anytime you're faced with a new challenge or a new thing that you're going to do, take that step back and say, okay, but these are my strengths. These are how I do things. How am I going to approach this task that's going to be natural for me? Because a lot of times we fall into like, what's the default way to do that? Somebody's going to train you in a way and they have a different set of strengths for you, and it's not going to work. It's going to be like pushing that boulder uphill, right? So we want to figure out like, what's the easiest, naturalist way for me to get the results that are required from this? And that's what strengths do. And so that is the CEO way.
Awesome. And I understand that you have, speaking of gifts, a gift for our audience.
I do. And it's a recipe. Now, it's not for my famous cookies, but it is a confidence recipe. So if you go to www.confidencerecipe.com, you can download all those things that are, more details about the CEO way. But for me, it's always about what is that one more thing. So I've included in there a daily recipe that you can do. And this is that confidence boost, that quick boost you need. Let's say you're having a big meeting, a proposal, maybe you're even doing an interview that you can do. And it's called the Confidence Power Up, to give yourself that burst and help you present as the confident, amazing person that you are. So that is included in that download.
Juicy, juicy. Who doesn't want more confidence? Right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Consuela. This has been a brilliant interview. I love it. I love people getting these aha moments. And I love what it is that you're doing to help people shine their light more brilliantly in the world. Everybody can use this. I absolutely love it. So thank you again for being on my show.
Well, thank you, Sue. It was great going through the hero's journey with you and your audience.
Thank you. And thank you to the audience of The Sweet Sound of Success. What are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action coaching program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action coaching program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.